Welcome back everyone to Gotcha Interact. As you could probably tell by the title of this video, we are going to be talking about something that has happened pretty recently, and a lot of people have been speaking up about it and because of it. Now, recently we talked about a Tuple not Tuple, about Malwika and Sitlali, and we even made a video pretty recently actually even talking about the 4 stars and overall the banner itself, looking at that. And that's actually this video right here that we have on screen. It was just our perfectly made banner, looking at the Malwika and Sitlali banner with the 4 stars combined as a banner. How does it actually look? Now, there was a lot of initial hatred for it, I think is the best way to put it. There's plenty of different comments on our own as well as through other content creators. We looked through a lot of other people and we kind of wanted to understand maybe what some people are saying and kind of both sides of the equation, but more or less there's a lot of things I think we really want to talk about, which is kind of just, I think, going through a few different things that I think both me and Rift kind of have written down that we actually want to kind of go over. But there are plenty of different examples for maybe the annoyance with what's happened in this phase, at least. First one right here, you can see somebody saying this, we said that it was kind of good for free to play. I think Rift, you said that it was great for free to play players. And this person said not even a little bit. Free pulls on the second banner, and it never even happened in the 4 years to have 2 5 stars on the same banner, which has been a lot of the biggest problem, is that there are 2 limited new characters are on the same banner, on the same phase. And then if this is great for free to play players, you must be out of your mind. So we're crazy now. Time for me to say goodbye to all Hoyo games. They are basically just greedy people with no heart. So, a lot of love being shown to the gotcha games, I see. So, okay, here's the thing. I think there's a lot of hypocrisy, I think, when it comes to this, right? And it's not just this person. There's plenty of other people, but you know me. I wanna see different sides of the coin. So let's see what else this person has said in our comment section in the past. We made a video about the Spiral Abyss being a little bit too difficult. Kind of, there was a lot of people were talking about that actually being a very difficult Spiral Abyss, and kind of seeing was it a problem because there were too many needs for a character like Chaska, and it was almost dependent on having Natland characters, and it was forcing a lot of people to pull rather than when they didn't want to. So this person said, then that won't be a problem for me because I really don't like the Abyss, not even a little bit. I only did it for the free 4 stars. It's the same for the Imaginarium Theater. I ignored it from the beginning. They're big fillers, by the way, and they also have little to do with the game lore. Now, I don't know about you, Rift, but saying that the Spiral Abyss isn't a part of the game lore seems a little bit, a little crazy. Imaginarium Theater, I know you can kind of argue.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes the ironic idea here is that people are crying about, not getting enough pulls, and then at the same time you have something like Spiral Abyss in the Imaginarium Theater that you can get 800 to 1600 or however many pulls between both of them in a month or so. And so it's almost a 10 pull, you could say, or is a 10 pull. And if you're able to do that, you can get a 10 pull in a month or so. And if you can do that 10 to 12 times in a year, you're getting 100 to 120 pulls a year just purely from 36 starring the Abyss and getting full stars on the Imaginarium Theater. So it's interesting to see if you're a free-to-play player and you are casual, that's totally fine. But don't complain that the game is kind of not giving you things, maybe because you're not doing everything necessary. Now, if you are and you still feel like you're getting cheated, that's a totally different story. So let's go ahead and look at a few other things. But first, Rift, I know you kind of wanted to maybe start something out a little bit differently as we kind of go on, kind of starting with a baseline of free-to-play.
Yeah, so like you said, we have some things written down we thought about, and we'll address other comments and other just examples to support some things. But yeah, the idea of free to play, I kind of wanted to touch on this because after reading a lot of comments, and not just on our own video, but just out on YouTube, because I did some research and I actually watch other creators, which is a good thing to do, by the way, get multiple opinions. And a lot of the feedback is pretty similar. But I kind of wanted to address the definition of free to play. Free to play doesn't mean new player, by the way. Newsflash.
Contrary to
It
popular belief.
means what it says, free to play. It has nothing to do with duration. It means you play the game and you don't spend a dime to do it. I can be free to play and I've been playing for 4 years. I have friends that way. I can be free to play and started 2 weeks ago. You're still free to play player. You fit the bill, either whichever one you are. So that's the main idea of free to play. Now, okay, you're sitting there. Well, I already knew that. You're not showing me anything new. When we say and look at a banner and say, "Oh, this looks free to play friendly," because it is an opinion that we think that in the last video we talked about this, and that's mainly a lot of the comments we're looking at here. We think that the first half was free to play friendly, and we were more or less in the last video hyper focusing on the 4 stars, and that's just our opinion. An opinion's an opinion. But I mean, Bennett is a good character that everyone should have. Kuchina was given for free. Diona has some value. Is there better characters? Yes, and we talked about that in that last video. Malwika's probably going to be one of the best just characters to exist. Like, she's rivaling Arlecchino and Neuvillette for best DPS, and she might even be better. Sitlolly has a great kit, amazing character. That's probably going to upgrade a lot of different teams that were using previous options. So amazing characters. What we mean when we say it's free to play friendly is that you really can't really like get a short end of the stick if you throw wishes at the banner. You're gonna get value out of it as a free to play because both 5 stars are like really good and probably meta pulls. So their wishes well spent is what we mean by that when we say it's free to play friendly. Maybe you have other definitions for free to play. I don't know, Vixen. What are your thoughts on what does free to play mean?
I think the biggest thing that you've able to once again, and I kind of want to draw this into what other people have said. It's funny how the people that are free to play about this are usually, now if you are free to play and you have any different opinion, go ahead and let us know. But the free to plays that we've seen, and we've actually looked at other content creators, what they've had to say, we're actually right now looking at Jello Impact put out a community post kind of asking, should he make a video on this topic? And he I believe he's probably going to at some point just because of how many people want it. He stated how, what would you do? Most of the people, and we've been through most of these comments, that most people who are free to play are like, I really don't care. I've been saving for a while. I'm a free to play player, and I'm just kind of, that's how I'm going. And other people who are not free to play players, but they are like veterans that have spent a little bit here and there. That's who it seems to be is the most mad, because it feels like they've spent a little bit, but they can't call themselves free to play anymore. And so they try to be the spokesperson for the free-to-play players. And the thing is, the free-to-play players don't even care because, once again, those free-to-play players are watching the to pull or not to pulls because they don't know the game possibly as much, or they want to make sure they have as much information as possible to make the best decisions for their accounts. Whereas somebody who maybe puts a little money into the game can be a little bit more flexible. But when you have really, really good characters coming out back to back to back to back to back, and by the way, if Natlan's so bad, by the way, like everybody's supposedly saying, it's funny how everybody wants these characters. I just want to put that little tidbit of information out there, by the way. But if that's the case, then, these people are literally saying that it's fine. Like, you have to work harder. If you want to be a free-to-play player and not spend a dime in the game, you just have to work harder to get more wishes. And they're totally fine with that because they know that that's the grind, that's the mindset, and they enjoy doing it. If you're a casual player, totally fine, but it's a little bit difficult as a casual player to be like, I'm casual and the game's not just handing me 5 stars. That's not going to happen with any game. The game's not just going to give you free things just cuz, normally. Even the other games that have been similar to Genshin haven't just necessarily given free characters. And if they have, they've given like a 5-star or something like that. They've like Shangli Yao in one of the other games. Genshin, we got, I think, Ratio for free. And that's great and all, but you didn't get like, right, for Star Rail, sorry. And so, and then obviously in Zenless, I think they're going to do it as well if they haven't already. So yes, you can get this in other games, but it's not to be expected. And it's also not supposed to happen all the time. So I think that that's the other thing to keep in mind. But this person right here stated, in my opinion, Natlan exploration is very generous in primos, so it's not that bad for free to play. I'm skipping all the banners and the chronicled wish next patch though, so they're not really worrying about the second phase. So probably I just don't care because of that. Which, if you're pulling for the characters in phase one, it doesn't really matter what phase two has to offer. I just don't care because of that. Pulled both Zhongli and the Valette in this patch, already back to 20,000 primos after exploring most of Natlan, but they bought the Welkin. So technically not free to play anymore, but still a very, very low spender and used to be a free to play. The person said, how in the world do you get 20,000 primos? Did you do all the quests, statues of the 7, waypoints, blah, 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 blah. They said later I opened up the interactive map and cleared out everything in Natlan, which takes an excessive, extreme long amount of time. And they even did part of Natlan, but didn't finish it, which this person will do in the next few days. They got every waypoint, every chest, every puzzle, everything that the game had to offer. They put blood, sweat, and tears into getting those primos. And instead of maybe working for those primos, you can take the side cut of paying for said primos. And obviously, there's only a certain amount of primos in the world that can be grabbed. But I think that there's a lot more that the game can offer that is just nicer to you. So that's at least my idea with free-to-play players is actually from what I've seen, the free-to-play players aren't really that mad. It's the extremely low spenders who have barely spent anything, but they kind of have a little bit here and there that are maybe being mad for the free-to-play players that aren't really asking for any help, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's most of what we've seen. And are there a handful of free-to-play players that have voiced their opinion in a more negative light? Yeah, but that's not majority of what we've seen. And that's the case. I mean, you saw it in that comment right there. I think it's a good example of showing the good things that have actually come about Natlan. Like, we're focusing on the negative that's coming up in 5.3, but honestly, like that person said, Natlan has been very generous. It's been the most generous in giving primos compared to any region previous. So, and that's a good thing. Something that Genshin has given to us and be like, yeah, we'll increase the rewards, you know? And that brings me to another good point about 5.3 in general, and it's kind of hyper focusing on the Chronicled Wish. Shenhe, they literally broke a rule to bring to the Chronicled Wish because they knew, hey, people want this. We'll go ahead and throw her on there. Now you could also just look at that and be like, well, that's just a business move because they know people have been waiting for that. We're going to make money to do that. And yeah, it is a business move. I mean, they are a company after all. They gotta, it's marketing. That's how it works. And that's just kind of how I've seen the whole thing. Mad Week and Sit Lolly being together, the 20 pulls after, which, by the way, the whole 20 pulls being after, it does seem a little bit like, ooh, okay. But at the same time, the rewards are associated with Lantern Rite and Chinese New Year, the Genshin anniversary. That's, Chinese New Year is not until January 29th. The second half of 5.3 starts January 21st. That's when Mad Week and Sit Lolly end. So getting the rewards right before Lantern Rite, or I'm sorry, right before that Chinese New Year and into Lantern Rite, which is what it is associated with, does make sense. But you still can see how Hoyoverse kind of like set that up. Like, okay, let's put the new characters before that, and it does kind of create a little bit of FOMO. But at the same time, that's just marketing. Like, that's just good placement on their part, and they have all of the rights to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's their game. They can release the characters when they want to, and any good player, any smart player that wants a character is gonna do the research in advance, is gonna save in advance, have a little bit of self-control, and if you just play the game that way, you can in fact get every character you want. Now, if you want everyone, okay, you can't get everyone. That's just not how it works. We've seen too many comments where it seems like people have this idea that they should be able to get every single character and weapon, even as free to play, which is just kind of absurd to me because I don't know. It just feels like a given that no, you can't do that. Even if you spend some money, you're not getting every character unless you're spending like thousands of dollars. Like, that's just how it is. That's just it, right? And so I just want to talk about some of the good points that people aren't focusing on. We're just focusing on, oh, it's a scummy move by Hoyo to put 2 new 5-stars on the first patch. Honestly, did we not see this coming? Am I crazy for that?
I think if actually I found this one actually recently this comment right here. This is on, like we were talking about, Jello's post about this whole situation. Somebody said, I don't really know who expected otherwise, to be honest. Everyone knows those rewards were for the lantern, right? Like you stated. And giving both limited characters in the first half not only makes the ones who were saving for a time relief, meaning you don't have to wait longer, but also gives an amazing weapon banner, which kind of true. If you have both characters, it's a really good weapon banner. You
Mm-hmm.
can't lose on either one as long as you have the characters, and a chance for a game to boost their sales. What I mean by that, by the way, is that as long as you have Sitlali, going for the weapon banner isn't that bad. Now, if you only have Mawika, it is kind of rough considering the other side. Sitlali's weapon isn't really that good for anybody besides Sitlali. It can kind of be used on some other characters. There are, it's an EM main stat weapon, and if you have an EM character, EM type character that wants to buff other characters, it can work. It's just not going to be extremely good, as obviously it would be on the character it's meant for, like Sitlali. But, there's obviously people trying to tear this person apart under them in replies. But they just stated, so there's something called pull value. And if you already have Neuvillette as a free-to-play, it's unlikely you'll need to go from Mawika. Then the second phase is where you get the rewards. So they don't really understand what the complaint is. At the end, they stated, that's the key point. Because this person said, having Neuvillette isn't going to stop people from trying to pull from Mawika anyways. Why not just make the banner last the whole patch? And they stated, that's the key point. It won't stop them for trying, and if they really want the character, they'll save for it. And if they don't want the character, you just try, or if you don't save, then you'll just try, and that's it. That's all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really need the character, and that's the point. Of course, it would help free-to-play players way too much, but why would they? Why would Hoyo do that? They don't really need to do that. They don't owe, like you said, anybody anything. I mean, we don't even, have to have those wishes that they give us each year. That entire
Yeah.
idea is not something that we're guaranteed. Like, it's a privilege, not a right. And I think that if you understand that concept, this makes more sense. Now, people say, is it a scummy, terrible decision? What, blah, 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 blah. Is it a little bit in the gray area? For sure. Isn't most business in the gray area? Yes. And people are going to say, well, if you keep just turning your eyes and keep looking away, then it's going to keep happening. That's how business works. You have to, they're a business and they need to make money, and they're doing it the best way they can. I mean, Genshin is a free to play game, and they don't force you by doing anything to pull. There's also something called reruns. Contrary to popular belief, these characters will come back, and considering it's both their first times, they'll be back pretty soon, by the way. So I think that's just, once again, we even saw Doro put out a Twitter post, a tweet at some point, and even was like, FOMO, LOL, or something like that. Like people with FOMO, because he was talking about the situation. And FOMO is fear of missing out. And that's what they do, and that's the whole point. And that's good marketing, and that's just how the game kind of works. That's at least how I see
Mm.
things.
It's kind of has me saying, or wanting to ask, like for certain people, why do you want to blame Hoyo for honestly what was probably a poor polling decision, or you just didn't save? Like, once again, I feel like a broken record if I keep talking about this, but like, you can get the character if you save for the character. If you've been saving since Shilonen, then you should have enough pulls for Mawika, maybe even Sitlali. That's even as a free to play. And I think that's just all there is to it. I, yeah. Like we could look at, okay, if one of the issues is, oh, they put 2 new 5 stars on the same exact phase, that's bad. Because it's not free to play friendly, or it's FOMO, and then the rewards are after. Well, okay, what if we switched it up, and what if they did in the first half? What if they did like Mavuika Cloran first, and then they did Sit Lolly with Arlecchino? Does that really make anything better? Because that would be no different from what they did have done actually several times with banners or 2 new characters being in the same version, just not the same patch. That was Sigewinne Cloran. We had it was Alhaitham Cloran, her first release, and then in the immediate next phase was Farina Sigewinne. And then but I know people probably would just say, "Oh, but Sigewinne's like a very bad character." But okay, what does a character's kit have to do with this whole principle? If you wanted Sigewinne, Sigewinne owners had to save for it to ensure that they were getting it, kind of a thing. I just don't see why that would help. And maybe you also say, well, those 20 free pulls would definitely help me get my sit lolly if the banners were, if, Mad Weekend sit lolly were separated that way. Oh yeah, then I'd be able to do it. I'm like, okay, but 20 pulls is only 20 pulls. You still had to have saved, if we go all the way, 160, and then the plus the 20 would make 180. You can't get sit lolly off of just 20 pulls. Maybe some of you can if you're really lucky and you win the 50-50 or whatever, get a double, I don't know. But that's definitely not happening for everyone. You still have to have saved. If you want both Mad Weekend Sit Lolly, no matter how they line up in these banners, you have to have saved for both of them. So I just don't see why it's an issue to have both of them in the same phase.
I think if you know that you're going to zero pulls or your zero primos or whatever, you should know that the next few patches it's going to be pretty rough if you want to start saving again. And a lot of people, kind of like you said, and I think we're trying to jump around the subject without trying to be harsh. We're trying not to be harsh because we're not trying to be rude to the people who are legitimately just trying to chill out and watch
Because it
watch
does
the
make
video.
sense.
Right.
It does make sense.
I think the issue is that we're just kind of sitting here like, why does it have to become Hoyo's problem that you've made someone, if they are complaining about it, has made a possible poor decision on not being able to just have some self-restraint when a character has come out, right? For instance, Rift, I know you wanted Mawika, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, recently, you pulled Mualani as well, correct?
Yeah, actually, let me just say this. So I wanted to get Mavwika because for a while I was like, I want to get all the Archons. That was just something I'd set on. So I also still don't have Venti, was maybe going to get him. But recently I was just kind of like, I don't know, maybe I don't want to do that because Venti just is a nonsensical pull. Like he's so old. I already have Kazuha. I just don't know if I don't feel good like spending wishes on that. And, I'd just rather get a different character. So I kind of like veered away from that. I've gotten 4 characters in Natlan that I didn't originally plan to get at all. Because I'm more or less a person that doesn't I don't look ahead and plan very far in advance. Whereas Vixen is the person to do that. He's been pre-farming Mavwika for I don't know how many months now. He did the same thing with Shilonen, ended up pulling the C2. But I pulled Mualani on a whim, just like, oh, she's cool. I'm going to pull her. So I got her. Then I pulled Shiori as well, instead of Shilonen, by the way. But I let the weapon banner decide for me, knowing full well that that could happen. So I was completely okay with it. When you know the risks, you have to be okay with it. I'm not sitting here mad at that Shilonen Shiori banner because it gave me Shiori's weapon and not Shilonen's weapon. And it's all within my power whether or not I pulled Shilonen if I really wanted her, right? But I was just fine with getting Chiori. And then I also got Chaska and Linny, which was also just a last minute pull. Just I'm gonna pull these characters. And I've been having a blast with Chaska, by the way. But I did all of this, knowing full well I may not be able to get Mawika. So I feel like I should be I fit the bill for one of those players. It's like I should be mad at Hoyoverse because they didn't give me the 20 free pulls in the first half, so that would help my getting Mawika. And I'm mad because of that. But I'm not. I'm just not, because I don't have power over that. And honestly, to me, it does really make sense why the pulls are coming in the second half. Once again, I said this earlier in the video. Those free wishes are associated with the Lantern Rite, the Chinese New Year, the Genshin anniversary. That's when it occurs. Why people feel like, they should have placed it here because, the new characters. But in principle, that'd be that in their perspective, they're moving ahead rewards that have to do with a different event just because, hey, we have new characters here. Yes, it's kind of planned, but once again, good marketing. That's all it comes down to. That's just good marketing.
Yeah, and for instance, this person said they do this every single Lantern Light. Right, literally, who cares? Person said the free-to-play player does. If you let them get away with it every time, they do this even more. Person said they keep doing it because people literally don't care. This info was in fact in the special program more than a week ago. All this information was done a week ago. People have had time to say, hey, this isn't that great. This isn't neat. and just tell people something to make this known a week ago. But no, they didn't care. And personally, as a free-to-play player, I don't care either. I'm saving since Shilonen, and got enough for both Malwika and Sitlali just by playing the game. And probably a lot of free-to-play players don't care either, because they are actually playing the game instead of crying about the 20 wishes that doesn't really matter anyway in the grand scheme of things. Like we stated before, unless you have 160 wishes, you're not guaranteeing yourself getting anything. If anything, you're banking on 50-50 wins, unless you have a guaranteed, and you're banking on earlies. Heavily. Since you are not going to be since you are gonna get the same amount by events and quests alone on the first half of the patch, the entire version is gonna give 120 wishes anyways. So you're gonna get 50, 60 pulls in first half anyways. So yeah, the extra 20 could guarantee a character if you're at 0 right now, but honestly, it's not. You could go hard pity and still technically not get the character depending on your pulls. So I think that it just really just depends on your outlook on it. You can be extremely negative, like our community tends to be, and some people will be like, you know what, you just like sucking up to Genshin 24/7. It's like, yes, I'm totally sitting here knowing that I have a Genshin representative watching every single thing that I say on like a monitor in my room. That's not the case. Okay, they don't have time for that.
He's right
okay?
over there. He's watching.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I was about to say, yeah, like we have people behind us, making sure. Yeah, no, that's not happening. Okay. And even if it was, why would we care? Like, we're going to state our opinions nonetheless. I think that either way, though, it depends on your outlook on this entire topic. If you want to be cynical, hypocritical, maybe not hypocritical, cynical, and maybe just overall negative about it, yeah, you can be mad, you can be annoyed. And look, totally fair to have your own opinion. If you want to state your opinion and throw it on the internet, go ahead. Just know that other people like us may have differing opinions. I think that's another thing that we have to keep in mind as well, is that our community is extremely toxic, not Gacha Interact. We actually thank you guys. We have a very, very nice, very good, wholesome community that we're thankful for, 110%. But there is definitely the broader Gacha community that is maybe sometimes a little bit toxic on certain things. And so it's very interesting and difficult to kind of deal with some of these things and maybe throw your opinion out there. For instance, if Rift wants to talk about, Fremine Hyperbloom, and someone walks in and says that's not doing 100k normals like, Arlecchino is, then it's a bad team. And it's like, look, I can get the Imaginarium Theater done and I have fun. So I'm going to keep doing it. Well, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're crazy. And it's like, that's cool. I don't care. I like doing what I want to do. I think that once again, it just wholly depends on your outlook. But I mean, this person even says later that, like, oh yeah, this person said, clearly some people care though, because clearly some people left Genshin for a combination of reasons, but an inclusion of this reason. And he said, oh yeah, they care about getting, abused from a gacha game, that they stop playing Genshin, they go to some other gacha game, and then they say that, all these gacha games are way better, and then they drop that game and then come back to Genshin a little bit later. And that's why we keep having this reoccurrence of players come back into Genshin. So I think overall, I mean, we can show you post, this person's mad. How am I supposed to get Malwika? Time to spend, right? Somebody under it's like, are you saying you didn't save 180 for the Archon? What did Rift literally say 2 minutes ago, right? You didn't save. My guy, that's your fault. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you've made that personal decision to not save, or maybe to pull characters instead of saving. Don't get mad at Hoyo because you decided to pull for other characters and not have any self-restraint, and now you've pulled those characters and now you can't get the Archon. It's not really on Hoyo for doing that to you. That's kind of on you. Now, the idea of the two character on the banner, that might be rough for you and you may not have expected it. I didn't even expect it. But you have to know that that comes with the territory of banners coming up. You've got to think smart about it. Most people, if you are a free-to-play player, try not to get down to 0 wishes, if you can. If you're saving for a character, try to, have a little bit more in the bank. So if you get anything early or 50-50 wins and stuff like that, you have an extra little bank that you kind of have. And that feels nice. So it's a little bit of security so that if one of those characters pulls up like Rift you were talking about that you really want, and they come out of nowhere you weren't planning for, you can go ahead and pull. But those people that didn't pull, that didn't take the time to kind of think ahead, are now annoyed that that Genshin's kind of ruining their gameplay, when That's not really what happened. So
Yeah, it's kind of the mentality of, oh man, I have only 159 Prima Gems, just need to go open one chest and then I can throw a wish on. And it's like,
exactly.
when you have that mentality, why are we getting mad that you can't get characters? I mean, that is your own fault. You realize that, right? Because you're just throwing wishes single as you get them, because you can't like wait 5 minutes to just like save a little bit of Prima Gems, right? It's just weird. It's just weird to me. But like that comment, I think you have pulled up right there by where they say it's very difficult to get all characters and weapons on a gotcha game as a free to play. It's just not designed that way, sadly. I mean, it is a gotcha game. I don't know why we're assuming that we should be able to get all of the characters and weapons. It's just not. You're not gonna get everything. So that's the
Somebody
whole
even said
reason
it's not a
that
charity.
creators exactly, and that's the whole reason creators put up videos like, "Hey, let me help you decide which character you want on this banner," or kind of helping you to kind of build your account by giving you very detailed information that you might need for it, or give you a perspective, an opinion that can make you think, oh yeah, I guess I should go after this. Or it's literally just helpful advice. That's all it is. You can take it or leave it, because most of the time when you watch a creator talking about that, some of it's fact, but also some is sprinkled with opinion in there. So you can take it or leave it, do whatever. If you just want a character, then pull the character, but do so knowing that I'm not going to get the next one possibly, or something like that, right? You can't just expect to have everything. It's just weird that I'm seeing so many people have that mentality of, well, I deserve all of the characters even as a free to play. It's that's just weird to me.
Yeah. And somebody even said down here, HSR somehow or Star Rail is able to give a free temple almost every patch update, it feels like. At the same time, there's little to no exploration happening in Star Rail. So where you
Comparatively, yeah.
where you get an entire area like Genshin to open world, actually fully explore the world, you're getting a lot of primos from that. So it's a very large difference. Never mind the different trees and the different this and that. And in Natlan, it's
Hmm.
the Temple of Tona or whatever it's called. So
And we saw earlier that that one person said they were able to get up to near about 20,000 Prima Gems just off of exploration. I think they only bought the Welkin. That's a lot. That's a guaranteed character, whether you win or lose the 50-50, right? And that was all just really recently.
right. And, once again, like this person you're talking about here, a reply under it. It's not a charity, right? Like, why are we expecting Genshin to just hand out stuff? It's already a free to play game. Why are we expecting them to do even more handouts? More than they already do. Somebody said if it was easy, people would simply lose interest. Think about it. If you got every single character, yeah, it'd be really fun, but it get to a point where you're like, there's no risk in the gacha involved. It's kind of like if you went to like Vegas and you knew that you'd win every single time. And people sit there and go, okay, well, that'd be amazing because I'd be infinite money glitch, right? But there's going to get to a point where you're just going to just kind of be boring. Like, you're not going to want to go anymore. Like, if you just like get money for the rest of your life, you get like $500 million or $1 billion, there's no reason to go back. Like, the fun factor is gone at this point. So if you got every single character in the game, fully built them, C6, R5, got everybody, that's what a lot of content creators have an issue with sometimes when they put so much money into gacha games, is that they stop playing for a while because they're kind of bored. The end game content
Yeah.
isn't as difficult because they C6 R5'd every single character. And so it's the same thing here. If the game was too easy, if there was no risk involved, if there was no need for you to constantly be thinking about the game to actually think about maybe some smart decisions to make, there'd be no reason to play the game at all,
Yeah,
to
you'd
an
be only
extent.
coming back for the story. And we already know that half the people actually don't really play the game for the story. They like it for the gameplay. But like there's nothing to look forward to. A big aspect of a gotcha game is looking forward to just banners, new characters, because you have a lot of fun. That's just part of the game, right? Saving for characters, pulling, getting what you want, kind of constructing your account, and then being able to beat the end game. That's a very satisfying feeling. And so to just be given everything, you kind of lose that. It'd be like playing any game where instead of putting rewards behind certain things and giving you things in a kind of progressive kind of way, we'll just give you everything. Have fun with the campaign. You're just sitting there like, well, okay, yeah, sure. I'll play the campaign, but now I've already got all, like, literally everything. There's no reason to do endgame now, unless it's just for pure gameplay, which is definitely a viable thing. But that's just part of the game, is the satisfaction of getting a new thing, feeling like you earned something, that false sense of satisfaction and gratification, or false sense of accomplishment, right? Because, hey, I saved, I got this character. Ooh, it came early. That's exciting. Like, part of the game is pulling on the banner. It's a gotcha game.
Yeah. And then the last one we have here is 5.3 is just diabolical. Two 5 stars at once, both having the same 4 stars, and then reruns like with Lanyan and Chevrus, who are really good 4 stars, supposedly. They're coming out in the second half. This is just the icing on the cake. Person said, yeah, I'm going to have to pull for Arlecchino Constellation only because I don't have a Chevrus and I want to play Overload Arlecchino so bad. Meanwhile, Malwika said Lolly Banner has yet another Bennett. Like, we didn't have any more, we didn't have him a few banners ago, and he was also available on the shop as a 4 star. Welcome to Circle Impact. People have been crying about Bennett for years. Next person said, yeah, the only thing that aggravates me is the 4 stars being on the banner. Otherwise, I don't care that the two new characters are running in the same phase. So they're just mad about the 4 stars and not even caring about the two 5 stars on the banner, which is totally fair. And since it takes a lot longer than one phase to save anyways. So there you go. It takes a lot longer than just one phase to save for a character, unless you're throwing mounds of money into it, which everybody is getting mad at in the first place, is that they have to feel like, okay, I didn't put in time and effort to think about smart decisions in the future to pull these characters, so now I have to put money into it, and I'm mad at Hoyo because of it. And it just feels like deflecting the onus and blame onto Hoyo just so that, people aren't blaming themselves. And so, I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that we can look at this. There's plenty more comments, plenty of different content creators that have made plenty of different posts and feels about their own things. I know Tectone's talked about it. Jello is probably going to make a video about it. I wouldn't be surprised if some other content creators that are a little bit bigger make talks about it or even say something in passing in stream. So let us know what you guys think. We are interested to see what other people think, and don't think just because we are maybe against, the maybe what the community is saying, or majority of the community is mad at what's happening here, that doesn't mean that we're not going to accept people's opinions as well. If you have a different opinion than us and you believe what some of these people are saying, go ahead. I mean, just because we have an opinion doesn't mean we're going to absolutely silence everyone else that has a differing opinion. So that's the whole point of what is going to be a part about gacha games. There's so many different characters, there's so many different ways to look at the game, and just because we disagree on something doesn't mean we have to start, jumping on each other's throats. It just means that we have differing opinions, and that is honestly perfectly okay. So I think
Absolutely.
overall, that's at least how I'm going to look at it.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and just to maybe give you some context, if you've watched this far already, wow, thanks, to hear it like us out.
Just
Um,
rambling.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But just to kind of give it some context, I've watched a lot of other creators' opinions. Okay, maybe not like a lot, but a few at least. I watched Tectone's video, start to end, the whole thing. So I had that opinion. I, you know, talked to Jello a little bit about it, and a few other, just like, so it makes sense. It really does. It does make sense why people would be upset at it, because it's like, oh, man, just give us the polls, the 20 free polls to help us with Mabuika Sit Lolly. And it's like, yeah, they could have done that, but it's just, all we're saying here is vocalizing our, simply just our opinion. We don't want to take away from that. Once again, it does make sense, but at the same time, it just, nothing says that they had to do that, right? That's really all this is about. It's just to address, really, why are people so incredibly, like, it seems seeming irate about it. Like, once again, it makes sense, and we've seen much more mellow comments and opinions that address it. Like, hey, I feel this way, but hey, it is what it is. That's just the game, right? But then it's just the others where like, once again, some of the radical ones to me that just don't make sense is, we should just be able to get every character even as a free to play. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So we just wanted to put our opinion out there. Maybe some of you guys wanted to see it, but also to kind of show you guys, like, hey, what's going on? Because a lot of these comments are not just coming from our previous video where we talked about the banners, but it's also coming from Jello's latest community post at the time of this recording. So it's just been very interesting. So we'll have to see how this goes down. Once again, you can always feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below, whether you agree or disagree. We like to see the stuff. Once again, we're not bashing anyone's opinion here. We're just simply giving ours and sharing our opinion as to why we actually think this isn't much of a big deal or much of a problem.
Yeah, exactly. there's just our own personal opinion being thrown out here. If you guys want to, here is Jello's community post. If you want to figure out how to find him, there you go. It's right there. It's also kind of clicked on the left side over there. You can kind of see where his channel is. Go and check him out. Great content. Other content creators we've talked about as well. Very good content. Go look at their videos, see what they have to say. Maybe some people have put up tweets. Maybe some people have put up community posts like this or videos. Go watch them. Kind of get some ideas about how everybody feels. And yeah, well, either way, we've taken enough of your time. So thank you guys for watching the video. If you guys have made it this far, we do extremely appreciate you guys. Let us know how you guys feel down in the comments. Which way are you, left or right, or down the middle? Or, you know, once again, we're not against each other, but what do you think about it? Kind of what is your personal feeling about what's happening right now in this whole idea? So once again, thank you though for watching the video. If you guys do like the video, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Also check out our Discord as well. We talk a lot there. Some of these things like this can come up. They may not make a video, but we do talk a lot about this stuff as well. So join the Discord if you want as well. Thank you though for watching the video once again, and we'll see you guys in the next one.